Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And this is episode 100. So, if you tuned into our live episode 100, you'll realize, why are they doing another episode? And it's because a couple of reasons. One, there were a lot of things that don't really suit our audio audience. There were some screenshot quizzes and things like that. And two, I kind of messed up some of the audio levels. We had game audio coming through, covering up dialogue. So I've gone through, redone all of the OBS stuff. That's the back-end program that we use. And we should be able to do this top 5. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll get to see some game footage and the game boxes for each game we talk about. But if you're listening in your car right now, you won't miss out on anything. So we're just going to dive right in with Aaron's top 5.
Yeah.
So these top 5s are based on games that we covered from episodes 50 to 99.
That's right.
Aaron chose his top 5 favorites, and he has a couple honorable mentions.
All right.
All right. So, Aaron, your number 5 pick.
Hit the button, Frank. Golden Axe. Now, I love a good arcade beat 'em up. Me and the kid play them all the time. And this is not a new happening. I have always been a fan. When I first played Golden Axe in the arcade, I just thought it was awesome. And we've touched on some of the reasons why. I just thought it was a unique game. I like the premise of it. I'm an old D&D guy from way back, and it just tickled me in the right way. And so, lo and behold, when I acquired a copy of Golden Axe for the Amiga, my expectations weren't that high because, nothing against the Amiga, but I had been weaned on the PC, and I can tell you that the arcade conversions weren't good at this point on the PC. CGA nightmare. Maybe you get some sound if you're lucky.
Yeah,
right.
But a lot of times you didn't.
So, and also it only came with, this is going to sound silly, but it came with one disc. And I thought, man, how are they going to put all of Golden Axe on one disc? It ain't going to happen, Threw the sucker into my 1000, and bam, you could knock me over with a feather. Loved it. Played the hell out of it. Played it with my brother. It's just a great conversion. I mean, the Amiga version is top shelf, and it holds up. I mean, when we reviewed it, I enjoyed it, and it looked even better if you considered it was side by side with the horrible Altered Beast conversion, which was a total botch. Which is another game me and my son enjoyed playing, but not the Amiga version. Just got awful. But Golden Axe, they did everything right. They got the sound right. It's got the cool intro stuff. It's got the music. It's got the levels. It's got everything. Mm-hmm. It's all there. It looks great. It plays great. Easy choice for me.
Yeah. I thought that this... I'm not a huge fan of beat-em-ups. This one is a little bit deeper than your average brawler. It's got some RPG elements in it. You're picking up items, and I like the map that is unfurled.
Yes,
and
I love that. And the hand,
there's some nice little choices there. I like the fact that you can ride various beasts.
Something that can't be understated is the controls. Again, this in the arcade, this is a multiple button game. Of course, the Amiga's got that one button, that darned button. But it works well in this. I have no trouble controlling this at all, to be completely honest with you. I never have any problem. And that's saying something, because that's obviously where the game lives or dies. Mm-hmm. And Golden Axe, the controls transferred over pretty well, considering you just have the one button.
Yeah. What things, if you had to choose your favorite brawler on the Amiga period, is this it?
That's a tough call. this would certainly be right up there. I maybe it would be. I'm sitting here I'm going through my head trying to think of other games I liked as much as this one, but this might be it. I mean, it's a top shelf job. I also like Bad Dudes. I will say that, but Bad Dudes is such a stupid game that it appeals to me, and it was also a good conversion. I might add, and I'm sure a couple more would pop into my head. New York Warriors I enjoyed that. Of course, it's a vert beat 'em up,
Right.
But this one, yeah, it may be. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it before. This may be the one.
I can't think of a brawler on the Amiga that I enjoyed more than this.
I mean, I love Sword of Sudan. That's another one I like. But I mean, and I like that one most because the graphics are just huge, and that's another goofy sound and one it's D&D-ish, but it's not the player this one is. It doesn't have the lasting power and the replay value that this does. So yeah, you may be onto something, Bo. You may be onto something. But yep, I loved it.
All right, number 4. BC Kid.
Now this, I'll have to say, this is a new one for me. This, amongst the last 50 games we did, 49, 50, however many we did, I had played Bonk on occasion. I have a TurboGrafx 16, but I didn't have it for the TurboGrafx 16. And so when we did this episode, and I just happened to have picked it up that week, and if you'll recall, we played them both. And I know you were partial to the Turbo version, but the Amiga version, I liked it a lot before I played Bonk on the TurboGrafx, and I liked it more after. It's a beautiful game. It's very amusing. I mean, we could go into the details of why that BC Kid / Bonk is a cool character. He's funny. He's very emotive. He's unique in a platforming genre that is ripe with sort of the same old thing a lot of times. The headbutt angle is amusing. The indestructible headbutt, the way he powers up with the meat's funny. The level design's clever. The enemies are kind of wacky. It's got a lot going for it. The TurboGrafx 16 version came out well before the Amiga version, so it's to be expected that they would enhance it to a certain degree. It's not necessarily true. Often we see stuff get released well after it was released in the arcade or on other consoles, and they don't do anything to it, and it stinks sometimes. But they went the extra mile in this. They upgraded Bonk's graphic. They upgraded the color. They got rid of that god awful planet that's in the TurboGrafx 16 version. A lot to like. And this is amongst my favorite platformers on the Amiga. I mean, and I will say it's something I've really discovered in the past year. So it came out of nowhere for me. Once again, the show comes through and provides me with another game to play. And me and my son, it's another one. We'll sit around and play, and we'll take turns playing it. We always have a good time. He gets a kick out of Bonk. So it was easy choice for me to put this one on the list.
Yeah. I really liked Bonk. I didn't have a TurboGrafx growing up, but I was able to play it on your system, and I'd played a little bit in emulation before. But you're right. The Amiga version is much better looking. Bonk's sprite is much bigger. The backgrounds are more detailed. The downfall for me is that the game just doesn't control as well, just because of the up to jump. And there are certain gameplay aspects that just don't seem to work as consistently for me, like when you're bouncing off flowers, with the trampoline jump. I can't seem to do that as well. But overall, I mean, on a platform full of terrible platformers, Bonk really stands out.
I will say this, having both. There are advantages to the TurboGrafx that the Amiga doesn't have the ability to work with. And one is the TurboGrafx 16's built-in rapid fire button, switch settings on its gamepad. It allows you to set things. It does make a difference. And in fact, on the TurboGrafx, on certain games, the manual will tell you which play to set your switches for maximum gameplay value.
Right. In case in point is Bonk has this sort of wall climbing ability where he'll attach himself to the side of the wall with his teeth, and then if you rapidly press the button, he'll climb it. Well, on the TurboGrafx controller, you just switch the switch to, turbo, and he'll climb right up it. So that was something that I never realized until I played your version.
Yeah, I will say, given the again, this is the same old story, isn't it, with the Amiga, the one button. Given what they had to transfer them over, it works well. I think one of the reasons why I can control it pretty well with the joystick is because to be honest, I've put more time in with the Amiga version than I have the TurboGrafx version, and you get used to it. I will say, if I was coming out of the gate, the gamepad is the control in the TurboGrafx is top shelf. The Amiga control is pretty good, and you have to get used to it, but it's pretty good. TurboGrafx, that's one place that's got it beats the control.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was a really fun game. It was an easy choice for me.
Definitely solid pick. All right, number 3 is Swiv.
This is another one that came out of nowhere. We talked about on our Swiv show that my brother and I were big fans of Silkworm, which is the predecessor to Swiv. The spiritual successor was Swiv, but I don't think there's any actual connection, as I recall from the episode we did. Silkworm's an awesome 2-player game. One guy plays a helicopter, one guy plays a Jeep, and you side scroll through a shooting thing, and you just blow stuff up. Pretty simple, but it's fun. Swiv takes it up a notch, turns it all vert, and just kills it. I mean, again, I struggled. I thought we had a couple really good shooters this time around, and I was like, man, which one did I enjoy the most? And I will say I've played several other ones that are on my list, my honorable mention list more than I played Swiv. But once I found out about Swiv, I was just like, man, this is outstanding. Like I said, we reviewed Banshee in the first 50 episodes, and I actually like this more than Banshee. I was just blown away by how much I enjoyed it. It's very different. I like the 2-player angle. I just like everything about it, and it's new to me. I mean, it's and the thing is, this is one of those games that I didn't even know about until we started the show. And then me and Bud will go through some old magazines we've got to look for ideas for games. And this one popped up a bunch of times, Not that one. But I kept hearing about it, and people would mention, I would read reviews of Silkworm, and they'd be like, man, Swiv is great. Silkworm is pretty good. But they were right. I mean, it really blew me away. I think I prefer it to Silkworm, but I mean, it's neck and neck. They're both awesome. But as far we sort of had a plethora of decent shooters because Battle Squadron was out, and which I had not played much. Of course, we did Hybris way back. We've done Banshee, of course. There's some good stuff,
yeah.
And I will say the Amiga lends itself to these sort of games, and this is a great one.
These sort of sprite-based horizontal. Really, the only one that we played that wasn't any good. What was that game that we just recently played? And it didn't get the scrolling down right.
Sky Shark,
yeah.
Which we never reviewed.
We never reviewed.
We don't do reviews, but we didn't even look at that one. But we did.
But yeah, that was really the only. All the other sort of vertical, vertical.
That's right.
Scrolling shooters that we've done have just been excellent. It's a great platform for that genre.
Yeah, and this, I mean, people will argue this because it's really personal choice. But I mean, I love Hybris a lot, but this one's up in the area. Hybris has it beat for music, but and I like the fact that Hybris is real colorful. But again, the 2-player aspect of this, the way it works, I dig it. And plus, it has a lot in common with its with Silkworm, and so I'm a big fan. It works out for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to move right along to your number 2 pick.
Now, this one's going to be a bit controversial.
That's right.
It is Three Stooges. I know if you heard the episode we covered Three Stooges, you'll know my passion for this game. I was a Three Stooges fan when I almost out of the womb. In this country, in my age group, when you got up in the morning for school, there were 2 things on TV: Little Rascals and Three Stooges, and that's it. Maybe some Bugs Bunny. That's all you got. And, man, every morning before school, and often when I would come home, they'd be running those Three Stooges shorts. Moe, Larry, Curly Joe, Shemp, the whole 9 yards. Saw them all. And just fell in love with them. So flash forward a decade and a half, and here comes the game. Three Stooges, the game. Now, I knew they had an arcade game called The Three Stooges, which I'd heard of but never seen. I don't know how I'd heard of it at that point. But this came out, and I just couldn't freaking believe it. I went to my buddy's house, and he showed it to me. And it was so the graphics were so unbelievable that I could not believe it. I mean, you got to understand, coming from a PC and then having somebody show you this, it's freaking unbelievable, man. You know, the detail and the hair of the Stooges and stuff.
I've got to say that, all qualms about the actual gameplay aside, this is one of the best looking titles on the Amiga.
And the sound, I mean, they hit everything spot on. And then when you play the game, it is a Three Stooges short. They hit every bullet point. The plot is literally based on a short. The bad guy is unbelievable. You know, he looks like an old Stooges bad guy. The Three Stooges, they picked the three most famous ones, the famous lineup, Moeller and Curly, and they took. You could tell the people that made this had not just said, "Okay, we're going to do this." They watched a ton of Three Stooges. They picked out the best bits. You got your pie throwing. You've got your hospital gurney chase, right? You've got the old boxing gimmick, which was, as much as I love that episode, that's the worst of all the events because it's almost nearly impossible. I've never completed it.
Well, and in the boxing event, you don't really even box.
Well, no, you don't box at all. You just run with the radio. But I mean, that was a great bit. And if you ever watch that short, you know the eating contest with Curly. With the clams, you know, this stuff, the pie throwing, of course, straight out of Three Stooges. Then you mix in the fact that they paid homage to the Stooges with the trivia. And I know maybe that's not everyone's bag, but hey, it's neat to learn something about the game you're playing and who they're based on. It was fully endorsed by the families of the Stooges, which is awesome. It included a real nice book with it. That talks all about the Stooges, goes into a lot of detail. My buddy bought this game; he still has it, Hose, and it's just I like every single thing about it. I know some people will say,
"Well, we'll go over. We'll spend a little bit of time on the negatives later on in the show."
Some people don't get off on the mini games, but I do, and as a package, as an homage to the show and the characters. I think it's top shelf. And like I told Bo when I put this list together, I said I'm going to pick the games that I play the most and enjoy. And this one's perennial favorite of mine. And so it was the easy pick. It was 1 or 2, and it ended up being number 2.
Awesome, cool. Well, speaking of number 1, let's see what number 1 is.
And this was an easy choice for me too.
Number 1 is Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia. Now, right out of the gate, I'll say I know this was not an original Amiga title. It debuted on the Apple, and it debuted there, but it was perfected on the Amiga. They got everything right. I'll give Mechner credit. Jordan Mechner, the guy who came up with this, he did the rotoscoping. He's the same fellow that did Karateka. Like I mentioned about before, Karateka to me felt like the beta test for this game. Karateka was a very simple game with very awesome graphics, very incredible movement. Right, this game took that beautiful movement and put an incredibly intense, well thought out platforming game behind it. This is an unusual platform game. You're not hopping on a plethora of enemies. There's not a lot of hack and slash. There's some sword fighting, but most of it is skill based, and the skill is running, jumping, ledge grabbing,
inching.
That's right, inching. The controls are not for the weak at heart. You have to learn them. The Amiga controls work perfectly fine. In fact, I prefer them. I like it. There's very little, HUD stuff going on. I mean, you just go, and if you die, you're dead. You've got a few hit points. That's it.
Well, and this is an odd game because you're actually given a time limit to complete the game.
Yes, absolutely. Sadly, I've never beaten it, and which I will say I've played it for years. There are a few games on the Amiga that I just keep coming back to, right? And I've mentioned 2 here and a couple before. Wings is one. Stunt Car Racers one. Three Stooges is one. But this one, above all those even, and I don't know why that is. It's been released for everything under the sun, but the Amiga version I like the sort of stark backgrounds. I like the sound effects. I like the way it looks, and I like the way it handles. Everything about it, because as this series moved on, it always got tweaked a little bit. They'd try to make the dungeons look better. They'd try to mess with stuff. Maybe it'd play a little bit different. Maybe they'd tweak the controls. Well, to me, that's not Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia is this. This is perfect. It's the perfect version. They never got any better. And that's why I picked number one. It was an easy choice. Like I said, most of this list I had to really sit around and think about, but the top two I had no problem.
Yeah. Cool.
But you liked Prince of Persia, didn't you?
I liked it. To me, if I'm going to play a platformer, I want it to be a little bit more twitchy. This is one that it's more of a thinking man's platformer. In much the same way that a game like Gods is, where it's a little bit slower moving. And it's more about trial and error. You go into a room for the first time, you kind of fall to your death, and you say, okay, well, I'll learn not to do that next time. One of the things that is, just because I've gotten so used to it, I really would have appreciated having some save points. So when you die, you don't go all the way back after 3 lives.
You gotta beat that level, bud.
But that's just the way the game is. I can't deny how great it looks. It really looks fantastic. I thought it was interesting to play this on the Mac Plus. This is one of the few games that I have on my Mac Plus. And even though it's in black and white, it's actually your hero is much more well defined because the higher res screen. I thought the swordplay in this game was actually pretty good.
That's not the easiest thing to pull off. You're not insulting nobody, that's for sure. Yeah. But what you said I could agree with, but to a certain degree. But for me, I probably, because I don't have the skill that you do, to be honest with you, those twitchier games. Mm-hmm. I like a game where I can sit back. And I mean, granted, in this game you're under a time limit. Ultimately, you've got to get there in 60 or 90 minutes gamer. But for me, I'm pretty realistic about my chances. So I like to take my time and ponder my various moves. And once you get the jumping, the grabbing, the controls down, it's less of a Dragon's Lair and more of an actual game where you're going to get caught with some stuff and you're going to get killed occasionally. But there's not certainty that you're going to die.
Right.
If you're quick enough,
and there is sort of like a list of mechanisms that are present in the dungeon where you can kind of, after you fall to your death, or you learn to recognize traps more easily.
I don't think it's cheap.
I don't think it's cheap either.
Plus, there's secrets. I should mention that's always good. If you consider how old this game is, it's just like a vintage wine to me. It's a game that by now it's that this formula's sort of been done to death. But when this came out, I can't tell you how blown away I was.
Sure, it was
to
the
see
first
it.
of its kind.
It really was a true miracle.
Well, let's move on to my top 5.
All right, here we go.
Top 5.
Oh, now listen to you.
So, my top 5. We're going to start things off with a recent game we just did on episode 99, The Secret of Monkey Island. Now, this is why I've thought about this. This is really why I loved point-and-click adventure games back in the day. They were the most beautiful games out there at the time. I hadn't played a whole lot of graphical adventure games, or really just games that really had a lot of great graphics altogether. Because I grew up on the Atari 1200 XL, and graphics were not its strong suit. None of the 8-bit computers, they really looked fantastic.
I thought the Atari was amongst the best.
They are amongst the best, but when you look at a game like Monkey Island with the amount of colors...
Oh, yeah, they couldn't compete with that. No.
And when I saw, I was, on the PC, of course, but when I saw games like this and King's Quest on the PC, the games were slow-moving games, obviously, so you can take the time and sit back and appreciate the artwork, because you're not worrying about somebody running in to cut your head off or something.
Right.
So that's one I like to dwell on the intricacies of the artwork in games like these. A game like Monkey Island was really the first adventure game to really rely on the writing to tell the story. It, of course, wasn't the first point-and-click adventure game or the first graphical adventure game. You know, you had King's Quest and you had Maniac Mansion, but neither one of those games really relied on the writing to tell the story. The writing was just kind of window dressing. You were left to your own devices to figure out what to do. It's hard to write good dialogue for video games, and it's especially hard to write funny dialogue in video games.
That's true.
And Monkey Island manages to pull both of those things out. I think Ron Gilbert is the guy that wrote this, and you know, he's still in the games industry writing stuff. We got frustrated. I got frustrated, and when we were doing our live stream of this game, and we ended up not doing a live stream at all because I missed out on going into the kitchen at the right time. But that was just because we were talking, and you know, it's rare that you have to give a point-and-click adventure game your full attention. You can kind of operate at your own speed, but there are a couple places in this game where you are obligated to react with some speed. This game's got a great cast of characters. The insult sword fighting, of course, is stuff of legend. The rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle. All of that stuff. I mean, this is sort of the prototype of the adventure games that companies like Telltale are still making today.
I can say nothing bad about this game. Most people would have this amongst their top 5, honestly. For me, again, this is not really my bag. These games, I'm not a patient man, and really, also, it's funny. We had our buddy John on, and he talked about Future War, which is a game that's similar to this in some ways. And that was, again, it was more my speed. But even now, I didn't play a whole lot. It's just I don't have the patience for these, and I'm not really the whole plot, the whole piratey thing didn't do it for me. But that much said. Playing it for the review or the look over. I keep saying that.
It doesn't. Just call it a review.
Playing it when we had a look at it.
I'm calling it a review from now on.
Oh God, I'm not. When we had a look at it, and I got to sit down and really play with it. It's a game that is good no matter really what you're into. I mean, there were parts of it that I cackled, and once I played for a while, and then I was like, I picked up what I didn't play. I watched videos of people playing it, and there are some parts that they were hilarious, and I remember sitting there and just watching it. It was like watching a show. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, it's good, and it's clever. You don't see the direction it's going. Again, the insult thing, hilarious. The used boat salesman, he's always doing this stuff. I thought that guy was by far my favorite character, but the pirates the ghosts were interesting. I love the way they're rendered. Very first time you see them, I just like the colors they used. The art in this, of course, they did a real good job. There's a couple things that are weird when it zooms in with the close-ups and they're realistic looking.
Yeah,
that's kind of strange.
I'd say that's among my least favorite things.
I remember doing research, and one of the main guys that worked with said that was one of the things he did that jarred him too, and it is weird. But they look good. I mean, it's not really a complaint. It's odd.
Yeah.
And it goes in a very. There's no way you're going to sit down and predict what's happening. It goes in a real kind of weird direction. This whole game does. And one thing that you mentioned, it's a game that's based on the writing, which is true, but it's based on the writing. But they've got one hell of a good interface on this. They really nailed that interface. And when you've got an interface that is not a bother, that's half the battle right there. That doesn't mean you're going to have a good game. But, I mean, we've played a lot of these games, and I've played a bunch over the years. The interface can be such a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. And you're having to navigate. It's like, oh, geez, is this the best they could come up with? This one, the whole time I played it, I didn't think to myself, why'd they do this? You could tell they put a lot of thought into it. They had some big minds that thought about how it was going to work. And I can't deny it. It's a good choice.
Thank you.
You finally got one.
Moving on to number 4. And this is Budokan.
You sure it's called Budokan?
Yeah. And and I want to make sure that Eve's okay. So I want to take this live on the air.
Okay.
Hello, dear. Dear. Hello. I don't know that she meant to call me. That's all right.
Sounds like she was doing Budokan on somebody's butt.
I think that she was. She was practicing her own Budokan. So this is not called Bushido.
Oh, dang it. Make one small mistake. The entire 50 episodes.
Well, it's funny because I think that there was something, like you were going out of town or something. I couldn't contact you for a couple of days, and I kept looking for this game Bushido, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be ready for the show. And but then finally I got a hold of you, found out it was called Budokan, and it became my number 4 game.
I know. Then you said have you not played this before?
I had not played this before. This is, I think that fighting games on the Amiga, by and large, they get kind of a bad rap because of the one button thing. Mm-hmm. But for me, this game does all it can with what it has. You enter into this martial arts tournament in the Budokan. I guess the Budokan is the name of the building.
That's right. That's right. Very famous. It was built for the Olympics, I believe, as I recall.
Okay.
And I believe there's a newer one than is there now, but it's been used for sumo championships and rock concerts and everything.
And so you basically you're a fighter and you've got different weapons. And your job is to dispatch your opponent. Aaron, talk more while I take this.
One thing about Budokan, I almost did it again, is this is the Prince of Persia of fighting games. It's like Boat mentioned, it's a slower game, but it lends itself well to this particular style of fighting. It's not Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but when you have enough time to sit back. I mean, it's not like you just sit there and say, it's not turn based, but it's not super fast. I just mentioned it's the Prince of Persia fighting games, which is what I like about it. Me and Bo are both old martial arts guys, as I've mentioned a few times. It tickles that you've got that. And it's got our various martial arts in it to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And the fighting I feel is fair. And really the controls, which we barely scratch the surface on, are very deep. And when you look at all the things you can do, I remember this is one of the games I printed out the instructions for. And I was just baffled. I was like, man, look at all these freaking moves you can do. It's like a ton of moves.
And the way that you have this thing called a key meter. And, you can't just go to town button mashing because you'll physically wear yourself out. And so you've got to balance the moves that you do, the defense that you play, and you can defeat your opponent but still get a bad ending. Mm-hmm. If your key meter is not what it should be. Wouldn't it be cool to see? Have you ever seen? I know that you've watched a lot of martial arts. Have they ever done these sort of like interdisciplinary fights before, where like bow staff versus
not with weapons that I've seen? I don't think I probably wouldn't be too fair to the guy that brought the sword or the pointed spear.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you think about it, the original UFCs were the premise was this. Without the weapons, bring together all these various art forms, martial art forms. And see which one's the king, and to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
Would you say that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the king of the martial arts?
No, I would say it's right up there. But American wrestling is right there too.
You mean like pro wrestling?
No, I mean amateur wrestling.
Oh.
And then the days of the UFC accomplished what it's wanted to start. Not to get off on a tangent. They figured out what worked and what didn't in that system. Mm-hmm. The UFC is not like it was. It now has rules. It's enforced by the athletic commissions. In the old ones, it was almost everything goes. Now, there's no one that just comes in and does one thing. Now it's just you're a mixed martial artist, and the actual and in some ways it probably has hurt martial arts in some ways because it's hard to justify some of the things you're teaching.
Right.
I watch my kid's jiu-jitsu class. I'm like, why is he doing that? That's stupid. I think of the stuff I used to train in. I'm like, man, that would never work. But it was taught for a zillion years.
Yeah, and part of it, I'm sure, is because it's more than self-defense. It's almost an art form.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really the way it should be viewed. Mm-hmm. But this game captures a lot of that fun parts of martial arts, and it captures the You get to have the bow staff guy take on the kendo stick guy, and then you get to go and fight, at the Budokan. You get to go in there and you've got to fight. You get to fight these other fighters that all kind of zany names, and they've got disciplines and weapons that you can't have, which makes it cool.
Right.
They could have just used the same guys. I mean, really, it's one of those games where they went the extra mile to put the extra stuff in to make it fun. On top of the fact that it's got beautiful graphics, you can wander around the gardens. It's got the guy that dispenses the crazy wisdom. So a good choice. This one, I seriously considered this one myself. I played this one. One of the reasons I didn't pick this on the Amiga is because I played it much more on the PC. Amiga version's better, but I haven't played it as much on here as I did that. So, but yeah, a good choice. I can't fault you on this one either.
Awesome.
I want to, but those are both. That's a great game.
All right, well, let's see what you think about number 3, Syndicate.
So, Syndicate is a game that I thought I was going to hate, and I feared reviewing it.
Now, you've never ever played this?
Never.
Had you ever heard of it?
Never.
Really?
Never.
Because it has quite a following.
I know. I never got into Syndicate. I was a fan of Bullfrog's games. I played a lot of Theme Park back in the day. What was the other one that they did that was real big?
I liked Magic Carpet.
Magic Carpet, right. But this was suggested to us by a Patreon supporter, and so we ended up doing it. But I ended up really liking it. This is sort of a forerunner to a game like Grand Theft Auto, where you're unleashed into a city. The city is not nearly as sprawling as the cities in later games, but you're basically allowed to go and wreak as much havoc as you want. You have a specific objective to attain, and what the Syndicate is, what the title means, is you are part of a group, a syndicate, as it were, and you're trying to take over vast swaths of territory in Europe. And as you take over these pieces of territory, the people that you they're now subjugated to you. They pay you taxes. You use those taxes to fund your operation. Sort of like how modern government works.
It's sort of like aren't there sort of like, as I recall from doing the research, they're like megacorps, aren't they?
Yeah. It's very Shadowrun-esque.
It's very Shadowrunny, which I believe Shadowrun probably predates this, but it would be close.
Yeah. And so the game works from an isometric viewpoint. The sprites are very small, and it looks sort of like cannon fodder, like a more realistic cannon fodder. You have different weapons that you can use. Your objectives range from either, taking out your opponents lethally, or maybe you have to kidnap a scientist. There's I can't remember the name of the gun, but it's some sort of a ray beam that you shoot at them and it makes them follow you.
That's another weird one.
Yeah. You've got 4 guys, and you can either all go in together or you can spread out. It's a really kind of unique game. I don't think there's anything else quite like it on the Amiga. The one downfall is that you can't see inside buildings. When you go into a building, which is where most of the people are hanging out, you can't really see what's going on in there. I don't know if that was a result of the graphical inabilities of the Amiga just to not be able to show that, or if it was they didn't have enough money to flesh out the interiors or what. But apart from that, I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, and I found it to be not as intimidating as I originally suspected.
This game, first of all, I think you'll like. I read the article in Kickstart this month. I think you'll like this game just because it's got tiny little people.
I like tiny little people.
But that said, this game, talk about a game. I mean, if you think about it's a big game for the Amiga. Mm-hmm. This is, nothing against the Amiga, but this is an ambitious title. All right. Another game where I wish younger me would have played it, because old, lazy, don't have time for nothing me just couldn't. This is just one of the reasons we don't do these many games. Is I had a hell of a time just getting to sit down and play this game and try to figure out what the hell was going on. Mm. I had a decent grasp there towards the end of the week, but I was just like, dang, this is...
Yeah, I had to watch a lot of playthroughs and read the instructions.
But I love the plot. I'm an old role-playing guy, and I played the hell out of some Shadowrun back in the day, the old FASA favorite, and great game, by the way, role-playing game.
What is FASA?
I don't know what it stands for.
Is that the company?
Yeah.
Like TSR or
yeah,
whatever?
This was that, yeah. it was a real fun game, and it did rise in popularity, but none of my friends liked it as much as, say, D&D. But, man, it was neat. And the premise was cool. And this reminds me of that quite a bit, where you've got, of course, this is all goes back to the whole cyberpunk, I don't want to say dystopian, but, that kind of, corporations have their own standing armies and blah, 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 But I like the fact that you just basically control, like, you've got goons. You tell the goons to go out and do something, or the mission tells you to go out and get your goons to do it. Mm-hmm. And you send in the goons. Goons kill people. Goons run people with cars, whatever you want to do. It was fun. Is it a game I would play now? No. But it's just strictly because of time. So I can't fault you for picking it. And boy, it's still pretty popular. So
there was a Syndicate game that was released on, I think, on the Xbox 360.
Syndicate Wars, was that?
And but this was a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And the Syndicate fans were not pleased.
I remember this. They were not happy.
Yeah.
I don't recall it doing that well.
I don't think that it was. It was one of those.
I think I saw it played.
It was one of those mid-tier, first-person shooters from the last generation, and those games have mostly gone away now because all games are so expensive to make that you either have indie games that are real light, or you have AAA titles like Call of Duty.
Well, if you recall, was it Gamma World? I know what was it. What was the thing called? What's the post-apocalyptic shooter series? It's real popular. Fallout. Mm-hmm. Right? Fallout was was basically based on a old role-playing game.
Much the same. It was
called Fallout, but it was based on another an actual role-playing game called Gamma World.
Okay.
Gamma World was about a post-apocalyptic, mutant, Mad Max, all that jive. It was a TSR game, and it's another one that when they changed the way it played, people sort of.
But it's funny though because Fallout 1 and 2 looked a lot like Syndicate. The sprites were a little bit bigger and more well defined, but this was a much newer game too. But when Fallout 3 came out, I'm sure that there were people that did not take to it well, but it was not like Syndicate because Fallout 3 spawned many DLCs and now Fallout 4 and everything.
Yeah.
So it really did, and there are I'm sure that there are still fans that say Fallout 1 and 2 are the core. Those are the ones that you should play. But turning anything into a first-person shooter just seems like an easy way out.
You just took the. I was waiting for you to fight me on this, but. They took the easy road because, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with first-person shooters. I've played a few in my day. I'm not the biggest fan, but there's a formula there, and no matter what people say about it, I've fought with my brother till I wish he was sitting here. I'd fight with him right now. I fought with him till I'm blue in the face. There's a formula. You take Doom. Doom had the formula, and they've moved it up the evolutionary scale. Some things have been brilliantly done, but you're
still shooting people in the face.
Yes, there's very few exceptions, and I will say that Call of Cthulhu game is one that comes to mind where there's very little combat.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge is another one.
Yeah, and and now a lot of these new survival in the forest type games, they've taken that genre or taken that device and then spun it in these crazy ways, which is good. Mm-hmm. But design something like this, no easy task.
Yeah, and I think that in this day and age, to release something like Syndicate, you'd have to release it on mobile. These kind of games, they
don't work well on a console either.
Yeah. People of the game buying generation don't want to play a game that has this isometric perspective unless it's on mobile. Look at the like Clash of Clans and all that stuff. We laugh all that stuff off, but those are moving copies.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
but good choice. Again, not my bag, but that's a good choice.
All right, number 2, world class leaderboard.
This one,
golf. So this is. I feel like people will think, why did he pick a golf game for his number 2 game?
They don't know you like I do.
But really and truly, this is a game that I go back. I have very fond memories of playing this on the PC. This was the first. I don't know if this was the first golf game that I ever played, but I think that it was. My dad got it for his old IBM compatible 8088 machine. And I still remember watching all the scenery get drawn in ever so slowly in between each shot.
Yeah.
I like the way that the swing meter works in this. There's a couple different swing meters in golf games. You've got something like Hot Shots Golf, and there's tons of other games, but it's basically a really long meter, and you can really see where your yardage is. And in this golf game, it's a lot more skill based. You have to know, like, you have to be able to do the math and say if you've got 100 yards on your club, where is halfway on that meter, because it's not gauged out like a beaker or something.
Plus,
like
it's
that.
so short.
Yeah.
You got to be quick to get that halfway point.
So there's a definite amount of challenge here.
Some might say the evolution of the longer meter comes from this because longer is better. Let's be honest.
Well, you are able to play more accurately,
Yes.
for sure. The putting on this, it's not that great. This is you can't see the way that the green rises and falls.
I believe there was isn't there a keyboard command that'll let you look at a graph chart?
I don't think so. Not in World Class Leaderboard.
Not the Pioneer.
But it's a small complaint. Like I said, there's a couple golf games that I really like on the Amiga, but this was the only one that we reviewed in these last 50 episodes, and I love a good golf game.
I know you love golf, and I would love to bury you because look at this game by today's standards. But I played the hell out of this game. Much like yourself, I played it on the PC. And playing it on the PC as long as I did, when I played it on the Amiga, I was disappointed. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. The number one, the sound should have been awesome.
It should have. You're right.
It's crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's crap sound. The PC had the real sound. The PC sound was crap, but the real sound made it less crap because you're used to utter crap.
Right.
So when you hear a guy talk, looks like you hit the tree, Jim.
Right.
Hear the birds chirping.
And just for people that missed this episode, the real sound basically did some kind of crazy engineering where they took your PC beeping speaker and did something to it to where it could produce human speech.
Yeah, it could, or sound effects.
Or sound effects, yeah, birds chirping, stuff like that.
And it was amazing. For someone who, again, coming from the PC with no sound card, this I was just like, holy cow, you know. And it played a pretty decent play of golf. At the time, you're like, wow, this is a good golf game. You're right about what you said. It's a simple, easy to jump into golf game. Yeah, the meter is what became the gold standard of meters that went on. They tweaked it here and there. And some games try to get real cute with the meter. Don't get cute with it. It works fine just like this. Mm-hmm. The draw-in was standard fare back in the day. This ran faster than it did on my PC. I can tell you that. But it didn't look that much better than it should have.
Yeah.
It's... As far as golf games go, it's not the best on the Amiga. We haven't covered... we've covered, 2 golf games? We covered another golf game?
No, we've talked about doing sensible
We should definitely.
golf.
There's a couple other ones out there, and links I want to do. But this one, it's not the best. And so, as much as I've played it, I can't badmouth you. I just can't. And I know you like to sit back with a cold one and play some golf. And so, I can understand it. Yeah. But... it would not be in my top of my list. But I have put more time into it than I have a lot of the games that I picked, unfortunately.
All right. Well, now we are left with number 1.
It's sad. My memory's so sad. I can't remember anything.
Number 1 is Rodland.
Okay, Rodland.
Is it coming back to you now?
No, but now I get it. Rodland.
All right. So, Rodland is an arcade port that we'd never heard of before.
No, I had never heard of this game.
It's pretty clear. I don't think that this game got a U.S. release. Boy, I really thought that I was going to like this background movie, but it's starting to make me ill. So I'm going to turn it off. Who was it? Was it Dreamcatcher that was pressing for
several
Rodland,
people had mentioned
O'Brien's?
Several people mentioned it. I saw it, and then we saw it on lists, too. Yeah, it's another one we saw. But people had brought up Rodland. It kept coming up on top 10 lists, top 20 lists, and we were like, "What the hell is this?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And when we finally fired it up, I was like, "Boy, this is great!" Because to me, it plays sort of like a less frustrating Mr. Do's Castle.
Yeah,
there is a little bit of bubble bobble in it. You can ride on bubbles, obviously. But the way that you dispatch your enemies is pretty unique. You have a parasol, or no, it's a rod. Sorry, I was thinking about parasol stars. You've got a rod, hence the name Rodland, and it's a magical rod. And when you touch an enemy with it, it sort of emits a shower of lightning, and your enemy becomes attached to it, and you raise it up over your head and smash behind you and in front of you.
You batter them.
Yeah,
you batter them to death. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're collecting flowers. You have a ladder button, so you can create ladders wherever you want. That'd be great in Dew's Castle, wouldn't it?
It'd be great in real life.
Yeah.
Just pop one out.
So
that would be great in Dew's Castle. You ain't kidding, brother.
So I really like this game. The anime stuff is not really my bag, but you don't really have to subject yourself to that art style outside of the opening movie. The box of this game is rather strange. You've got a kind of a friendly shark that doesn't appear to be part of the game, and a chimpanzee.
I think he's a bad guy. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and then you've got your little your girls that look more like trolls in the front than the anime girls that they are projected as in the opening cutscenes. But anyway, I really like Rodland. I still play it all the time. It looks almost exactly the same as the arcade port.
Yes. This one, again, that's what, fifth or sixth time I've said this on this episode, but it's another one that just came out of nowhere. I was just like you said, we have no idea what the hell this was. And then it comes up on the screen. I remember I'm sitting and loading it up at the house. I was just like, what the hell? Look at that. Just so it looks beautiful. We play a lot of emulated stuff. It looks like you just loaded up ROMs from the arcade. Beautiful opening screen. It's got all the attract mode stuff in it. It sounds great. It plays great. It's colorful. My kid and me played the hell out of this. We've played a ton of it. Since we found it. It's fun. It's another one. I can't badmouth your choice. It's not one that I picked. Personally, I like Mr. Deuce Castle more, and I'm not the Bubble Bobble fan. Like I said, I like Liquid Kids more. We haven't done Liquid Kids, but it's on my list. But this is good. It's fun. It's another one you can pick it up pretty quick. Like my kids picked it up, and we played it all the way through. I believe the arcade. We've played a lot of it. I mean, and as I said with Golden Axe. This is one that's probably is way more arcade perfect than Golden Axe. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference if you stack these things side by side. Which one was which? I mean, it's dead on.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing: if it's an arcade game, they convert it, and the conversion is perfect and it's fun. It's a winner. So I can't, and kudos to the listeners that sent this in and said listen to it. And I've got a couple more requests that I'm like, okay, I've been holding on to. I'm like, okay, well, here's a couple more because who knows the next 50 what we're going to find out. But so far, the ones we've been told to play have been really good, and this was a real winner. So yeah, that's a good choice. I can't deny it.
Well, that rounds out my top 5.
Did you have any honorable mentions?
No, and I do know that you have some honorable mentions, and I thought we might stick those in between the listener bottom 5 and top 5.
All right, sounds fair enough.
So we're going to move on to the listener bottom 5. So if you weren't aware, we had a voting system in place on our site, everythingamiga.com. Thanks to Will Williams for setting up his magical
genius
thing.
The brain trust.
And you were able to upvote games and downvote games. So the listeners' top 5 were the 5 most upvoted games, and of course the bottom 5 were the most downvoted games. So we're going to skip over to that right now. Ooh. The listener bottom 5.
The listener bottom.
And we'll start out with a game that we can all agree that belongs on this list, Outrun.
This game is a affront to humanity. Beautiful opening screen, which makes it worse.
That's where the beauty ends.
That's because they taunt you, they tease you. This is how it used to look and how you made you feel.
Look how clear that the Ferrari symbol is on the back of that car. It doesn't look that way in the game.
It goes south in a big way. So let's just run down the list of infractions here. Number 1, frame rate crap, sound crap, the actual control is crap. All right, who knows how much of the game is here? I mean, I played all the way through it a couple races. I'm assuming most of what was in the arcade is here, but who knows? Did you go through and play every single possible?
No, I mean, I had a hard time. I felt like this game was easier than the arcade game. I felt like I could make more progress in it, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, this, and again, in a world where we've got the Lotus series, and even that Jaguar game we played for the Amigos Challenge, this has no place here. Another horror. It's fun. What is going on with the Sega conversions? Now, sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it incredibly wrong. And this one is just. I think was it U.S. Gold that developed this one? I mean,
this game had 2 releases. It had, I think, a Sega conversion and a U.S. Gold one, but I think both of them were terrible. So.
Well, the one I played was just the worst. Now, for any of you that are into the Amigos plays. I played the, I guess the sequel to this on the Amiga. It was called Outrun Europa. The gimmick in this one was you start off on a motorcycle. It's sort of, you're trying to, there's a plot to it, believe it or not, sort of like a spy plot. And you start on a motorcycle, and then you get to a boat, and you go to several different types of cars, and it sounds interesting, and you go across Europe, France, Spain, but it didn't play very well. It was better than this, but it was still. The problem with it was you couldn't see far enough ahead of you to avoid any of the oncoming traffic.
Right, the angle was.
And I hate games like that. And so, but I mean, otherwise it might have been better. And the boat part, don't even get me started. It was just horrible. So yeah, but it was better than this. But this is an avoid at all costs. Embarrassment. And I don't know. Is there a good computer version of Outrun?
Outrun 2006 was released on the PC for a brief period of time. Now that game commands a high price because it's no longer made because the whatever company that made it lost the Ferrari license.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there was ever... did you ever play something like the Genesis or anything?
The Genesis port is not too bad.
Uh-huh.
I think I did an Amigos Plays on it, and I played it on the Xbox, and but it doesn't look much better, to be honest with you.
Well, we know the Amiga was capable of much more than this, and that's what makes it worse.
Yeah.
We should have had a really good port of Outrun, but that's still be good. Hey, I think 5 might be too low for this one, to be honest with you. It should maybe higher.
Well, maybe you wish it would take the place of this next one, number 4.
Yeah. When I saw this, I was speechless and wrought with anger, furious anger. I don't know why this game got killed. I can't believe it. I honestly cannot. This is a much ballyhooed Amiga title. And
well, let me offer some suggestions on why this was dead.
Here we go.
So, and to be honest with you, I like Three Stooges.
I know you do.
But the mini games, the way that this game is laid out like a board game, means that you could be screwed no matter how good you are. And so like you could get to a certain point and just land on the wrong square too many times and the game would be over.
Well, that's what the beat up your buddies part's for. It slows down the hand that moves across the playfield.
Another thing is that the loading times on the Amiga version are awful.
Well, I'll stop you right there. My recent expertise in playing of this has been on the compact flash card.
Mm-hmm.
And I often think that sometimes when we go over these games, we have the luxury, right, of having this. And I cannot deny the fact that this is not fun to set through the loads on. It was always a pain in the butt. Excuse me. The only good thing now, at least, I don't have to worry about the disc getting bad if I'm using the GoTech, for example. But I'll grant you the load time. Now, but look at what it's loading. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a criticism.
And then the last reason that I have possibly why this game was voted the number 4 worst game of all time by the Amigos fans is I just don't think that the Stooges play well overseas. I showed Eep some shorts and she was not enjoying it. The sort of physical comedy that we tend to find hilarious here is not the same kind of humor that other people like.
Well, it's funny. I mentioned this before. I thought you were like, you killed me on this. But, I mean, I think there's a cultural... I agree. I think there's a cultural... I don't know how well or how... I don't know how much the Stooges got played overseas. Maybe... Or the Little Rascals. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that stuff got played. People may listen like, what the hell are these guys? Mm-hmm. If you're not... someone that's watched the Stooges, you're gonna. It would be. I mean, I still think the game's fun, but it would lose a lot of the fun factor from experiencing things from your youth again, that
Right.
sort of thing. So I'll grant you that one too. It's I hope some of you that killed this will get the WHD version and give it another shot. I really think there's a lot of fun to be had. Again, I wish there were more mini games. At this game, I would love to see like an updated version with more mini games with no load time. I think it'd be awesome. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I would make the boxing mini game more playable.
Yeah,
you know,
I
that's the
mean,
one
just
that's real
think,
done.
when your generation dies, the Stooges will die with you.
Well, I don't know. That movie that came out a few years ago was pretty successful.
That came out like 15 years
It
ago.
wasn't that long ago. It's been in the 2000s.
The 2000s, that's like 15
Yeah,
years
okay,
ago.
but it was all like 10 years ago. I think they're still talking about the sequel, so it'll happen. But I think it's really, let's face facts. There's no room. I hate to say it. I hate to say this, folks. There's no room in the modern world for the Three Stooges. Their kind of comedy, I hear it all the time. I remember me and Luke were watching. Oh, you shouldn't let Luke watch that. He's gonna. Or same thing with Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny, number 5. They shoot each other with a shotgun in the face. No one cared. Hit each other with a bowling pin. Smash somebody with an anvil. You know, I mean, the Three Stooges beat the hell out of each other, poke each other in the eyes. It's funny, but now everyone's real sensitive about this stuff. All the kids are going to go hit each other with anvils, I guess, or they're going to blow each other in the face with shotguns. It's just not worth it. Who would make this now? You'd be insane to try to put something like this out.
The only it would just be to target the Stooges fans that are left.
Now it'd just be like hitting each other with pillows and then afterwards soothing each other's boo boos. It'd be sad. It's a sad. We live in I don't know what's happened. I don't know. The Stooges, that sort of comedy will never come back. That is true. We will die with my generation. That's a fact.
Whether you think that that's a good thing or not, we'll leave that to the listeners to decide.
Real men love them.
All right, moving on. Number
Bad
3. Now this is a great choice.
An excellent choice.
Jaws. So this is another one that we just reviewed a couple weeks ago. And this is a game that the whole rationale behind us even reviewing this game is sort of shrouded in mystery.
You want to tell them that story again?
So I thought that Dreamcatcher or somebody said, it would be cool if we did, like, if you guys did same name, different game.
And he did do an article almost the same week we did this.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And so I thought, well, I played Jaws on the Nintendo. I know that there's a Jaws Amiga port. Why not look at Jaws? Little did I know that Jaws on the Amiga it's definitely, this is number 1, the worst for me.
Oh, of this 50, you mean?
No, total. This is
You hate this more than first-person pinball? Now, come on. Let's not get hasty here.
Yeah, maybe I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
But this is definitely, I could not do anything in this game. I was unable to shoot.
I thought we gave it a good hard.
one.
We gave it a try.
Yeah,
Though. I mean,
yeah.
I sat at home and
I played this because I watched the playthrough, and when you watch somebody that really is good at playing this game, like they're able, like we're watching right now, if you're watching on YouTube. But I would sit there and try and shoot those enemies, and I could not shoot them. And then Jaws would just barrel through, and that would be the end.
Jaws wasn't nearly as tough as some of the other stuff. You could avoid him, but this game, I like the very beginning where it's got that sort of rendered stage or the rendered screen, and your boat comes out. There are parts of it. I mean, it's nothing. It's 0% like the movie, except there's a shark in it. And there's a boat. There's a diving bell in it. They've turned it. Even we talked about how lazy it was to make a first-person shooter, right? They took the lazy route on this game too. They're like, well, let's just make it we'll make it an underwater shooter. We're not even gonna try that hard, and that's all they did.
You know what game this reminds me of? This reminds me a whole lot of Blood Money.
It's not in the same ballpark as Blood Money.
But I mean, just the way that it's really claustrophobic.
Yeah, but Blood Money had a lot more panache style. Gameplay was better. A whole lot. With sound was better. Everything was better.
But it just reminds me a lot of
I
Blood
can
Money.
understand why you would say that, but
I know you've got a soft spot in your heart for Blood Money.
all I can say is it's true. It's a fact. Jaws bites.
It does. It does. Don't go near the water.
Don't swim in place like that chick does at the opening.
Number 2. Now this one, I understand why people voted this because it is not a great game.
No.
But I don't think that this is as bad as Jaws.
This is like public domain Lionheart.
Right. That's very good. That's a very good way to look at it. Larry Kinney, voice of Lion-O.
Our buddy.
Is it Lionel or
Lion-O? Lionel's a model train. You're really scoring points with this guy. You didn't remember his name the last time. This time you say he's Lionel.
He's Lionel.
Lion-O, our good personal friend of the show.
That's right. He did that special intro for us.
That was so nice. That was so awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone, I played that for people when I was at work, and they were all so jealous. I was like, oh.
Very cool.
And then we killed his game.
Yeah, the game is not great.
It's not great, all right.
It's your very typical side-scrolling platformer. Your Lion-O character looks not great. The backgrounds are just a mess. Like, we're watching this, it looks like you're under the ground with a blue background, but there's a parallax, like, volcano scrolling behind you.
That's this game's giant planet.
Right.
Like Bonk.
It's just constantly
It's just sort
there.
of, I will say parallax scrolling, look.
Yeah.
It's almost like two different artists worked on the foreground and background, and we should have stuck with the guy that did the background.
Yeah. Now, in its defense, the game has a very nice title screen. It's very well drawn, but that's where the good times end with Thundercats.
As I recall, this game had a real checkered development. I believe this game was not supposed to be a Thundercats game. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have been any game because it's crap. And we briefly touched this before, but I mean, think about all the items that Thundercats brings to the table. You've got a group of cool humanoid felines, each with their own unique look and their own weapon. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, right there, you're in. And then, oh, by the way, they have an awesome base. They've got a whole rogues gallery of enemies. And they have a killer, cat-like, huge tank.
What do they call that thing?
Oh,
the Thunder
boy.
Tank?
That's right. Remember, Lion-O mentioned it in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Cruising around. Yep.
But here's the thing. You took all that, and then you gave us this? What the hell is this? This is why you don't rush something to market. This is they screwed up. They blew it. I mean, this should have been an awesome game. And the Amiga had the power. I know you mock Lionheart. Oh, you hate it. But that is more of a Thundercats game.
What they should have done was just sub-license Lionheart.
You got that right.
Re-release it as a Thundercats game.
Someone
they wouldn't have to change it.
Someone should change the title screen and call it Lion-O Heart. Bam.
Bam. Done. Problem solved.
Book it. And then change the opening. The bit at the beginning of Lionheart where they walk into that castle or something. Mm-hmm. Just put the Thundercats opening screen there. Get rid of all that. Play that in the background. Beautiful. And then there you go.
Yeah.
It would be awesome. But this game stunk.
Mm-hmm.
Stunk.
Yeah.
So get it out.
All right.
What else you got?
Number 1. The last one. And this is a pick that nobody can argue with. The number 1 worst game, as rated by our listeners, Rise of the Robots.
Oh, man. It's it's coming, but you can't look away.
Yeah.
Let me start on this one.
Okay. Let's hear your personal... what were your personal experiences with Rise of the Robots? Do you remember when it was being hyped in the magazines and stuff?
It's timely, because just this very day, the day that we record this, I'm at the house, and I'm shuffling through my various CDs and games, and here it is, Rise of the Robots. I own twice. I've got the PC version and the CD32 version of it. Now, granted, the CD32 version came in a bundle, but this game was pushed and pushed and pushed. If you remember the episode, which I think this was like one of the first ones of this batch, I think this was like number 50 or 51 we did it. So we went all the way back to pull this. We really started off on a good foot, didn't we? But I remember when we talked about the game, they said they kept having all these articles come out, interviews with the programmers that this is going to put the AI in Street Fighter to shame. These robots are all intelligent. They learn as you play. All the graphics. We got Brian May from Queen doing all the soundtrack. It's just going to be this awesome thing. And it was a calamity. Mm-hmm. I distinctly remember getting this home, and me and Brent sat down, and I started playing it, and I was like, okay, I'll try the single player mode. Oh, okay, you can only play this guy. And you went through, I was like, well, some games you have to go through and beat it before you get extra guys. Well, I beat the game easily. First time out, nothing. I thought, well, let's try 2-player. Just a debacle. The selection, the gameplay, the way he jumped. Honestly, this it's funny now to think about it, but I thought something was wrong with my computer. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was that bad. And I thought, how can this be this bad? It really blew my mind. I was a young, naive fool at the time. And I can tell you that when we did this episode, I was dreading it. I thought, man, I gotta play this dog, and it sucked. That was a bad week. I hated playing. I did a lot more research and a lot less playing than I should have because it just sucked. There's the gameplay is garbage, and how this got a sequel is unbelievable to me. I heard the sequel wasn't good either, but there's no way I was buying that.
No.
And the thing is, it sold a ton of games. So was it a bomb? It depends on your definition.
It was released on a ton of platforms.
Everything.
Even the Game Gear got a Rise of the
Didn't it
Robot
get a release on like the Gizmodo or something? It's ludicrous. I mean, it's everyone.
Might have been.
You can play this on your toaster.
The N-Gage.
Ludicrous. Now, what was your experience before the episode? You heard this?
So I remember reading in like EGM and a bunch of magazines about the hype. I was never a big fighting game fan, so this was never really on my radar. I was also a big renter of video games, and the box art didn't really do anything for me. It's a blue guy that doesn't really even look like a robot looking at you. Nothing screamed rent me from the shelf.
Well, I was invested in it, I will say. Now, I love fighting games, and we talked about this briefly before, but I love fighting games. And when you have a PC, all right, again, this is when I was in the PC, and you're desperate for anything that's sort of like what you can get in the arcade. It's a fighting game, And the only thing we had of any consequence was One Must Fall 2097, which I played the hell out of and still play today. Great game for the PC. But again, this game didn't look like Rise of the Robots or Mortal Kombat, and so when this came out, it was like, and there was a slew of these games. This came out. FX Fighter came out, which is another one of these kind of 3D rendered type deals.
Clay Fighter.
Well, I don't know on the PS on the PC. I don't know, and then
Balls. Did that come out? That like ball based fighting game.
I remember that, but I don't think I ever played it.
Was that not on the PC?
I think there was a Genesis title.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was.
But then there was a few others before. I mean, eventually Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat came out, and they were darn good versions, by the way, on the PC. But we were desperate. And so part of this was desperation to get a fighting game. I'm a big fighting game fan. But, I mean, I got burned. It's just the way it is. And we all got burned back in the day. And we gave these idiots money. Thank God they're long gone. Yeah, this is... I'm looking over these titles, though, here, the listeners' bottom 5. And I can't believe Three Stooges is on the same list as Rise of the Robots and Jaws.
Do you think they just did it to spite you?
I think possibly. I'm sorry, listeners, that I've done something to offend you. I really apologize. But all that said, I'm looking at these 4 of these 5, and which of these, in your opinion, first of all, are these your bottom 5?
Oh, I don't know.
Is there a game on this list that you think is head and shoulders worse than the other ones? I mean, you could take into account the amount of money and hype of Rise of the Robots. But, I mean, is it worse than, say, Jaws or Thundercats?
No.
I mean, those are awful bad. Yeah. And then you got Outrun, all that promise, and they botched that.
I think if I was going to reorder these, it would be Jaws. Jaws would be the worst. Then Thundercats, then Rise of the Robots, then Outrun, then the Three Stooges. Because even a bad racing game, I'll still play over something like Jaws.
I would make Thundercats, just for the sheer stupidity of botching the license of that magnitude, I would put that as the number 1. I would put... See, the thing is, Jaws was such a... By the time Jaws came out, who cared about Jaws? How long? That movie came out in the 70s.
Right.
So I would put Thundercats at number 1. I'd put Rise of the Robots at 2. And I would put Outrun at 3. Because you've got Outrun, what a property, and you're throwing it away, right? Mm-hmm. And then I would not have Three Stooges on there. I'm trying to think what we've done that I might have one there, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I mean, these are all triple bad. What were we thinking?
Well, did we even? I don't even know how Outrun, because we didn't even do an episode on Outrun.
Outrun. We did a. I think you did an Amigos play.
Yeah.
Did we talk about it? Maybe we didn't know. Oh no, we did. It was the arcade conversions.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
Well, so we set that one up, didn't we?
Yeah, listeners, thank you for your bottom 5. But now we're going to go ahead and skip back, and Aaron's going to give us some of his honorable mentions.
Yes. So I picked the top 10. I knew we didn't have to, but I couldn't help myself. And if you've seen Boat knows, one time I cobbled together my all-time favorite arcade games, and that list was 278. It's hard for me to pare things down.
Yeah.
So I would just, in no particular order, will mention the other games that I had that I thought were of merit. Shadow of the Beast 3. Shadow of the Beast is a premier top shelf title for the Amiga, and 3 was number 1, the only one released solely for the Amiga, and number 2, the only one that was a game, a playable game. Mm-hmm. They put a lot of thought into it. It's got a lot of neat puzzles.
But it was also, of all of them, not really the one that is the least Shadow of the Beast.
Well, it's still
you
cool
don't play
looking.
the Beast.
Yeah, you do. As the series has went on, he's become more and more human. You know, you have to read that plot.
Okay, I wasn't aware
I know
of
you're the original guy, the original opening skipper. But I mean, does 3 have a lot of
crashed a plane? I remember that.
Does 3 have a lot of replay value? It's not. I mean, it's for points or time, yes, but I mean,
it's kind of like a more modern Prince of Persia in a way. I mean, there's traps and things.
Well, it's more. There's a lot more combat, and Prince of Persia is a lot quicker. But I see what you're saying. It's a good game, and I enjoyed going back and looking at it, and the story behind it's fun too. So that's one I put up right away. Another one that was not really popular, but I liked it and played the hell out of it was Walker. This is one I've been wanting to do on the show for a while. But my Amiga's mouse is screwed up, so it made it difficult for me. But I managed to play it, and man, I played the crap out of this game when that week. I mean, I've played that probably as much as I played any game.
Yeah, this is one of the few titles that we really vary on. You like this game a lot more than I did.
I know it's got shortcomings. Okay, it's a shallow game to a certain degree. They could have. What pains me is that they did all that work, and the concept was sound, and the controls were awesome, but they didn't do as much with it as they could have, and that's what makes me sad. But and a sequel was ready to go, and it got canned, which would have been awesome. And the thing is, really, a non-computer can't play that game. You got to have the mouse. That's a mouse keyboard special.
Sure.
It had everything going for it to make it awesome. I had a lot of fun. It's a great tension reliever just to mow down suckers. I like stomping on suckers. I like mowing them down. I like blowing them off the wall so they fall to their deaths. It's fun for me. Sort of like a Rampage type game if you've played a lot of Rampage. Another game that was surprising to me was Pinball Prelude, specifically the modern table. Really, I liked all 3 tables. And the first one was pretty simple, but it was pretty. The second and the third table was really daring. Would be the. I mean, is it the best table I played? No, but I really liked it.
It really tried to make pinball. It tried to make a futuristic version of pinball,
and it was it even had a plot. It was really good, but the modern table was really good. I mean, I liked everything about it. It was a lot of fun, and I have found myself playing it a lot since we did the episode. And that's an episode that I'd never heard of that game before that episode. It's just one of the many pinball games in the company's big wad of pinball, which you should get that if you don't have it. They've got their all-in-one pinball file over at the company, and it is great. So that's another one I played a lot of. Another one I mentioned earlier was Battle Squadron. It's a great game. It's a great shooter. The effects in it are really good, particularly that invisible predator shimmer effect is really neat. It's a different sort of shooter. It's not. This is a theme for me. I think it's not the fastest, but it's maybe that's why I like it so much. But the sprites are nice and big. It's colorful. I think it's fun. It's got a cool theme. It's got cool sound, and I dig it. Don't play it on the Genesis. The European release of it, it's just not as good. It's not even close. The Amiga pulls it off perfectly. And then lastly, and almost certainly the most surprising, is Jimmy White's Snooker. I didn't know what Snooker was. I had a vague notion as to what it was. And like we mentioned before, this was my world class leaderboard golf. I would sit around, I'd get me a cold one, it'd be in bed at the house, kick back, and try like gangbusters to figure out what the hell I was doing. Try to make these shots. It's enjoyable. It's another one where my personal Amiga screws me repeatedly because it drives me nuts. This mouse issue, so I have to emulate it to play it. But it's fun and so far ahead of its time. I like pool games, and I just like the way this one feels. I have a lot of fun playing it, and it's also got me into snooker, which I think that's part of the reason I enjoy it so much.
After we did that episode, I watched a bunch of Alex Hurricane Smith and is that his name?
Hurricane Smith.
Isn't his name Alex Hurricane Smith?
I can't remember. I don't remember.
I don't know, but in there, of course, Jimmy Whirlwind White, and anyway, all those British snooker players from the 70s and early 80s. I love watching where everybody's smoking and drinking while they're playing.
I watched, the week we did that, I watched a documentary on White. And it was so interesting, and you really could. This guy was a prodigy out of the gate, and he went out and he lost that first world title. Then he won a couple, and then he hit that wall, and of course now he's gotten older, but he's still in there plugging away. It's he's never going to get back up there, and from what I've heard, that the new snooker players just smash the old ones because
they're probably sober, and that probably helps.
But it's not as interesting, is it?
And it's not as fun to watch.
From everything I've heard, snooker peaked
at that
in that era, and then it's now it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because that was what the BBC used to sell color TV sets. Because you can't really watch snooker unless you've got a color TV set.
I love it.
And so really fascinating stuff. So whoever suggested that, I don't even know how we. Who
I think that might have been one when we kept looking at these top 10s, and they kept mentioning it, like, we got to try the snooker game.
That's right.
And we were both like, Mer?
That's right.
But man, it's a lot like sensible soccer. Like, I don't give a crap about soccer. That's obviously well known. But hey, I like me a good game, and man, I had a lot of fun. And boy, you get a bunch of people together, that'd be an awful lot of fun. So yeah, that's another one I really dug.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your honorable mentions with us. It's time to move on to the listener top 5.
Ooh.
And we're going to start out by getting rid of that background movie because that thing was giving me a headache. And number 5 is Super Stardust.
This is like a bad penny. I can't get away from it.
So this was not one of our best moments on the podcast.
No.
Super Stardust, for the uninitiated, is sort of it's kind of a modernized take on asteroids with more of a plot and a power-up system.
A goofy plot.
The power-up system is what we kind of screwed up with. When you press spacebar, you can use special power. We didn't realize that or forgot it. And so we weren't able to quite explore the game to the extent that we normally would with an arcade shooter like this.
I've played this since then. I'd played it before then. It's a sad thing. And it is a fun game. I don't think it's not revolutionary, really, is it? Honestly. It's not even my favorite Asteroids game. Mm-hmm. That much said, it's fun. It looks great. And it does, as the old thing, it does what it says on the tin. It plays a mean game of like Blastroids or Asteroids.
Is this the game that has like every couple stages you go into like a first person bonus game?
It's got. I don't remember off the top of my head. There's another game we play that I get confused with. Yeah. But again, we sucked so bad at it that we didn't get anywhere because we forgot about the pie. I hated that. Like I said, and I've mentioned this before, but when I told Bo after we did that episode, somebody wrote in and said, "Hey, you idiots! you didn't do this, that. And I told Buzz, like, we're done. I was like,
Nobody's ever called us idiots, and no one's ever been even close to being mean to us.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, I felt like an idiot, and I told him, like, we're done. That we don't have any credibility. We don't know what we're doing.
But
I felt like
thankfully our fans know that we started with no credibility, so we didn't suffer.
Believe it or not, that counts for me for something. I don't want people to think we're like not even trying, and that's what I felt like, And this was one that, again, this is not my favorite episode of our personal show, but this game, there's not anything wrong with this game. It's a fun game, and it looks nice. And of course, like I said, it eventually got sort of like re-released on the PS4, so there must be somebody that likes it.
This just kind of reminds me of those Vidal games, Deluxe Galaga, Deluxe Pac-Man. You could call this Deluxe Asteroids, even though Deluxe Asteroids is a completely different game, but it's the same. It's a pseudo 3D effect. They've added power-ups and things like that weren't in the original game.
Good tunes.
Yeah. So I'm not like you said, is this my favorite Asteroids clone of all time? I don't know, but it's a solid game, and I can understand why the listeners liked it.
Oh yeah, and we may look at this one again, but I'll get into that later.
All right, number 4 is Silkworm, another shooter.
It's great. It could have easily made my top 5. I put Swiv in there, but basically it's sort of more of the same. I can't tell you how much time I've put into this game over the years. And I don't play shooters. I mean, which is obvious if you've seen me try to play any. But me and Brent, I will say to his credit, is one mean Jeep driver. He always gave Dummy, a.k.a. me, the helicopter so I could stay alive. And it was right. He's right. Teamwork, working together to keep that Jeep going. That's the name of the game. And it's just a fun game. And I like the fact that you can see stuff going on in the background. That it's fun. This game has a weird vibe to it that's hard to explain. And
it's got a kind of an avian vibe to it.
Yeah. And this game, another great port from the arcade. Mm-hmm. They got it real well, and I played this way more on the Amiga than I did in the arcade. But I mean, I just love it. I think it's a fun game. Another game that you lose something if you don't have 2 players. It's a lot more fun with 2 people.
Yeah, I like this game a lot. I actually like this game more than Swiv. We did that combo episode.
Yeah.
I like to me, playing the Jeep in this was more fun than playing the Jeep in Swiv.
It was easier.
Yeah, it was easier. You're right. I like the fact that the bosses all kind of look like Canadian geese.
Yeah, that always struck me as odd. It's like a flying brontosaurus.
Yeah. And I mean, this is just a spot-on arcade. I mean, the arcade version looks almost, like you said, it looks almost exactly the same.
Yeah, they did a great job. And then the same guys did Swiv. And what can I say? I mean, I put Swiv in my top 5, but I could have. It's almost interchangeable with me for sure. So that surprises me that the listeners were in the silver. I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 3. Another one near and dear to your heart.
Yes, a wise choice. I don't know what more we could say about this one, but it's a great port, just like Silkworm.
This is Golden Axe, by the way. We should mention that.
Yeah. Sorry, Golden. I hate when I'm listening to one of these shows and they don't mention the name.
Yeah.
And then here I am, we're doing the same thing, but yeah, Golden Axe. But Golden Axe, a great port, and we mentioned this before, but I think that arcade ports meant a little more, and maybe even a little more overseas than I did here on the Amiga, on anything in general. Part of that might be availability, but I've noticed as I read a lot of foreign magazines and stuff that the arcade ports really get a lot of love. Not to say they didn't get them here, but it's just like they really get a lot more love and respect for that. And I think that, again, maybe not as many arcades. Who knows what it is, cultural, I don't know, But this is a wise choice. Again, you mentioned it earlier. I don't know if I can think of a better beat 'em up than this one. And it had it all, so I can't complain about number 3.
All right, number 2 on the listeners' countdown, Syndicate.
It's
so
funny
you
how
got one of yours and one of mine.
it's a cross section, isn't
Yeah,
it? And then we
yeah.
had none that were shared, did we?
No.
At all? So that's
I did. Well, to tell you the truth, I did pick Three Stooges on my top 5, but then
Bo, good. Did you
Because-
hear him?
Yeah, I mean, I like Three Stooges.
You're okay in my book, sir.
So Syndicate again, not much more to say. It's a unique game on the platform. There's nothing else quite like it. And it certainly influenced a whole genre of sort of open world mayhem simulators to come. Anything from Grand Theft Auto, the Yakuza games, Crackdown, stuff like that. It all has its roots in this Bullfrog.
I just like the fact that it took a company like Bullfrog to have the vision and honestly, frankly, the guts to even attempt something like this on a machine that, let's face it, probably was not geared to do something like this. There's a lot going on here, and they pulled it off, and they pulled it off well, and they set themselves up for, well, I was going to say a bright future, but inevitably they got bought. It was a Microprose that bought them, and then tanked them big time.
And this release came towards the end of the Amiga's life. And this was really one of the first releases that looked markedly better on the PC.
Yes. I mean, if you look at the comparisons, I remember when we were researching this episode, I mean, it was a drastic difference.
Yeah.
Including some, I believe, cutscenes that weren't in the Amiga version.
Yeah.
So, but, hey, they were still around for one, It's good that it's here. And like I said, every time I think about Bullfrog, I get sad because that was a stupid way to end Bullfrog, and it literally got nothing for what they got nothing.
That happens to this day. Each time EA takes over a small developer, and
It
then
does.
you never hear from those.
Well,
guys
really,
again.
as I recall, EA bought Microprose, didn't they?
So
Now, I could
go.
be wrong, but someone bought Microprose. And when was the last time you heard about Microprose?
Yeah, we're due for another Micro League Wrestling.
Oh God,
When's that
I don't.
gonna
Micro
come
League wasn't done by Micro.
Was that not Microprose?
I don't think so.
Oh, who was that?
Oh, what are you asking me now?
You're the Micro League Wrestling superstar.
Oh yeah, the last time I played it was the last time we played it.
I can't believe that. All right, listeners, it's time for your number one pick. Your
I'd
number
hit the
one
table,
pick.
but I would hit the table.
Thank you for not hitting the table.
Wham!
Alien Breed.
You see, this is another one that I didn't didn't fare well at, to be honest with you. And then we played together. This was a game that I understand the appeal. All right, and I will say when we played it here, I enjoyed it way more than I enjoyed it at home.
It's a much better two-player experience in my opinion.
It's an updated Gauntlet, which Amiga's got a few updated Gauntlets on it, and there's nothing wrong with that because Gauntlet's an awesome game and needs a good updating, I might add. But this is another one where I just didn't feel like I got everything it had to offer. I watched some movies on it and saw there was a lot of stuff going on that I never saw, and this isn't, like I said, I mentioned this before, but when I look over our last 50. And really, I look over the last 100. All right, there are 3 games I don't feel like got a fair shake. Okay, Super Stardust is one. North and South is one. All right, and this is one. There's the 3 that I come up with that I never felt real happy with how our looks went, and for me personally, because I just didn't feel like that I got the rub of this. It just seemed like it was. I mean, it's okay and it looks great and it's fun, but I don't know if it's just not my cup of tea whatever.
My big problem with this game is that it was super easy to get stuck by running out of ammo. In a game like Gauntlet, you can just mash that button and kill.
Didn't we find out later that there was a way to get ammo back that we didn't know about at the time? It seems like we found some kind of gimmick.
Yeah.
Which again, that's on us. This one. I mean, and the thing is, this has a ton of sequels. It's highly thought of. It makes tons and tons of top 10s. I suggest that we do an episode in the future and that gives some of these things a second go.
That's what I think. It might not be a bad idea to just call it an Amigos second look, and our first episode could be those 3 games.
Yeah, because and this game is, and the thing is, this one of those 3. I feel like I've got a good idea of what I'm doing, but again, the Gauntlet part's easy. Walk around, shoot stuff, go pick up stuff. That's easy. But I mean, those kiosks, and then the way you use your weaponry. They're things I didn't grasp well, and so I'd be more than happy to go back and give this another whirl. So probably put that on the docket somewhere down the line. But I mean, I'm not gonna badmouth or bitch about the user's choice or the users. Listen to me, it's like we're in Tron. Nice work, users. I'm not gonna badmouth the listeners' pick for number one because it's a popular game that has a lot of love, and maybe we just aren't getting it. I'm glad you don't get it either because I'd feel really bad. Again, it's funny, those three games were sort of in the same boat.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And North and South, I mean, for as much love as that gets, that's another one. I just couldn't figure it out, man. Yeah. We tried to figure it out, but I mean, I would like to get that one another shot because it's everywhere. That's another one. And people still talk about it. It just drives me nuts. I'll be in the Amiga Facebook group, great group, and someone will pop up a screenshot, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, man!" They're just losing their minds. I'm like, "Why?" So I think that's not something like Outrun. We're "Oh, we love Outrun." Or at least I could just be like, "You're all idiots." But,
right.
But yeah, that's not the worst choice.
Well, before we say goodbye, I thought we might just reflect a little bit on the past 100 episodes.
Oh God, can you imagine?
And smoke our metaphorical cigars. Because the person whom I'm related to by marriage does not allow in-house real cigars to be smoked. But it's been a fun ride so far, I think.
Yeah. It's hard for me to get my brain wrapped around the fact that we've had a lot of fun, which is the number one thing, right? And we've had more success than I would have gathered. And we've met so many nice people who have been very generous with their time, with their money, with their minds. The brain trust has turned our little thing into something that they've made it look nice. You guys have, and I say you, I put you in the brain trust because I know you're sort of their engineer.
Thank you for putting me in the brain trust.
Well, I'm just saying you've got there are guys there doing this work that. We never had planned on ever having done.
Sure, yeah.
We, the magazine, which is tremendous.
Even the website.
That's what I was getting to that. The website, the fact that we had this voting, when a problem pops up, it's like, where's this kind of service with my cable company? It's like I look at the little chat thing, and these people are on this. People are migrating things. People are, fixing the code for stuff. I'm sitting there scratching my butt. It's not just the podcast. It's just the fact that we've got a group of buddies. Good people who and you kind of hear what's going on with their lives. It's very nice. It's very refreshing. And then to have met a local Amiga guy, John. We just met him, and that was awesome to meet him. Have him come around, sit in on the show. The fact that we've got to do a couple interviews of certainly big names, who's going to let us interview? You get what is that? I was stunned at all the interviews we've done, the ones you've done.
It's funny too because do you remember the first interview that we did on the show?
Oh gosh, it was a listener, right? It was
not that was the first. Maybe that was the first one that we did. Did we do that together?
Was it Will? Was that the first?
Well, we did Will, but I think.
You've interviewed Will,
right.
Flack, you've interviewed...
but the one that I'm thinking of, I think the first one that we did where we were both talking together was Sven.
From CinemaWare.
Yeah, and I remember the crazy system that we had, because that was back when we were using the laptop, and I had a headphone splitter, and it was just a mess because we didn't have a USB microphone, so we were using like the speakers were coming out of the computer, but we still had to use the headphone to hear Spin or something, and the technology has come a long way.
I remember the day I walked down in this basement to that first episode, we had two like a Logitech headsets hooked to a laptop, I believe.
Yeah.
And I listened to that episode just a few days ago. And it sounds not that good, and it's, it almost brings a tear to my eye when I say that just from the generosity. We love all of our listeners. This is going to sound real lame, all right, but people have been super duper generous to us. And I don't just mean with Patreon money, which they have been ridiculously generous, but with their time, with sending us food, that's been a weird thing that's been happening. Or booze, or Rabbit with the magazines. O'Brien sends us just loads of stuff. Our friend in Hawaii made up these beautiful magnets and these beautiful mugs, which were just so.
But that was
nice.
Brutal Barracuda.
Barracuda,
the mugs,
you've got your magazine, and then we've got contributors to the website, and that they do such good work. I look at these. I'll link all these articles up to my Google Plus and on the Facebook, and I just read these. I just can't believe that this stuff's under the banner, the Amigos banner. It just blows my mind because it was never any envisionment that this was going to be anything but just a couple goofs getting together and playing some games. It's daunting, frankly, that so much has gone on, and a majority of it's happened in the last 50.
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's been.
Yeah, the last 50 episodes were when I think that we'd started videotaping the episodes before.
I think it was like 47 or something like that.
Yeah, but it was right before we hit that 50 mark, because I remember the 50th show for sure.
But we didn't have any of the. I mean, it's nothing like it is now.
No. The mailbag segments, just getting the candy and all that stuff.
And the live streams, which was, we just did a live stream with. We had like what 80. So I don't know how many people we got. We got a ton of live views.
And we even have our Pishbots, our official chat moderator, and he keeps it clean in there. And we just got such a great. The community is the best part of this by far.
This is gonna sound weird saying it because I think part of it. It's nice to have like an international. The one thing about the Amiga that's great. There's a bunch of things, but the fact that the fans of it are from all over the place, it makes it a lot more fun. Because and we've got friends here in America, which is great. But it's neat. It's just neat to know that there's people in New Zealand, Australia, Germany, and
Norway,
Sweden. Yeah, and of course all over the UK, Ireland, all these places. They've all been real nice to us. As Boat mentioned earlier, we've screwed up many times, and production's been up and down occasionally. But people have been really. I don't recall any harsh words.
No, people are very kind. When you consider how most internet communities are treated, people just go to town on these guys. But for whatever reason, this community has just been really, really nice and supportive, and we appreciate that.
And I attribute a part of it just because that's the kind of people that the Amiga attract. And again, this is going to sound hokey, but it's true. You've got these are old school hobbyists, mostly your Amiga users, and especially the ones that are still fooling with it. Right, generally. You've got some people here that are younger, but I'd say the most part. And people are just cool, kind of laid back, and just kind of enjoy it. I think we've got kind of a laid back kind of thing going. We're not hyper. We're not like the car salesman or the ship salesman in Monkey Island. We chill, and the public, the listeners, everybody have just sort of been along for the ride. It's been fun, And I never thought we'd get past episode, say, 5. And then when we did 50, I was like, well, man, we had a good run. And then when we got near 100, I wasn't even sure how much further we're going to go. But, I think we still got some – it's like the old girl's got some miles left in her. And we've got a plenty of material. If people still want to hear us keep going, we'll probably roll on for a while.
Yeah.
We've expanded a little bit into, like, other stuff. I haven't got to fool with that stuff as much as you have, but into doing some other consoles and stuff. And it's still it's always fun to look at. We even looked at in some of the Amiga displays. We would compare Amiga stuff to the Turbo Graphics or the NES, and that's fun to do too.
Yeah,
so we'll probably stick some more of that.
Especially when you consider Amigo Studios East is nearing completion.
Well, we're getting there. The weather has not done us any favors this weekend, but hopefully we're going to move some stuff into the Amiga studio here soon.
And you've got that Saturn you've been playing with.
Been playing the hell out of some Saturn this week. Just got some new stuff for it, so we'll probably mix it up. But the good thing is, there's a lot of stuff that we can play on the Amiga and play on other stuff. But I kind of like that compare and contrast. It didn't work too well for Jaws, but for Bonk was a lot of fun, and it's neat to see what other machines of the same era do well and what the Amiga does well, and see how they compare. So it's an avenue we're going to look through. And I've also enjoyed the Amigos challenge, the gaming challenges that's been great.
Yeah.
And I love watching those videos.
Yeah.
And anytime I watch them, like if I watch one at work, my partner looks over and I'm just sitting back and I'm like, oh man, I just love watching them and just seeing how it all unfolds. They're so well done.
Yeah, Brutal's
a real stud at that. So I'm looking forward to more of those. So that's something that's been pretty recent. So there's a lot cooking. Hey, we're always open to suggestions. If anybody's got a game suggestion, O'Brien sent me a couple good ideas we're going to look at. So anyone that's got a game suggestion or really anything or a comment, just send them on down. I mean, we're pretty easy about that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can always find us on Facebook, Twitter. You can questions at amigospodcast.com. That works. Just reach out. We love getting feedback. I'd like to thank everybody formally for their help on the podcast. Let's see if we can make this text a little bit bigger.
You could get it in one this time?
We're going to get it in one this time. So, I'd like to thank the Brain Trust, as Aaron says, Brutal Barracuda, Dreamcatcher, Gary Hucker, Jason Warnes, Will Williams, Chris Folds, and Neil Mansell. These are the guys that make it all happen. On our special guest on the live stream of 100, we had John Marshall and Brent. Also, we don't thank Brent often enough for this, but he provides all the hosting for the podcast.
We should never
too.
thank him.
So,
He's a thorn in my
we
side.
appreciate that. And our official episode 100 sponsor, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage. We got tons of stuff that we're going to be giving away with some contests online. And, of course, our Patreon supporters, THT, Dreamcatcher, John Marshall, Adam Bradley, Darren Coles, Neil Mansell, Brutal Barracuda, Alan Kebab, David McCrandles, Gary Hucker, Will Williams, Ravi Abbott, Kim Tommy Humberstad, Josh Nan, Jason Warnes, Lane, Eric Nelson, Graham Vebke, Paul Harrington, Rob O'Hara, Laurent Giroux, Jonas Rullo, Kilborn Barman, Adam Bradley, Tapes from the Crypt, Chris Foles, Daniel Bigston, Chad Halstead, and Brent Dowdy. Thank you, one and all, for your support.
You really went through that, didn't you?
Well, they were scrolling.
You need to scroll down. Remember, we're laid back.
Yeah.
That's too fast for us, man.
So, if you'd like to help support the Amigos and our endeavors, you can check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast. As always, thank you all so much for listening. Next week, Aaron, what are we going to play?
We'll figure. Oh, we are. No, we have.
We know what
figured
we're
it
going
out.
to play.
We're going to play. We're gonna play. What are we playing? We're playing double. No,
It's a Konami Sports
It's a double
Spectacular. Dribble, and Blades of Steel.
That's right.
Yep.
It's hard to think. 101, right?
Yeah.
Hey, 100 episodes though. Before you close it up, good job, Boat.
Good job, Aaron.
You made it. I pulled you over the finish line.
We did. We did it. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Until then,
Adios.